Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter where you are joining this live stream from. This is Michael Firth. I do lots of interviews from every now and then in terms of the home-based business industry. And I love taking pearls of wisdom from people who've been enormously successful in the industry. Now, I must apologize if you can hear a blower vac outside my window. It's because he just walked right under my window and I'm going to murder him. So welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. Do me a favor. I love the fact that this technology gets us into all parts of the world. Right now, we are testing some software where we are live streaming on Facebook, on a Facebook page. We're also on LinkedIn. We're even live streaming on YouTube. So no matter where you're seeing this from, type in which platform you're watching it on in the chat if you could. That'd be great for us just to see how it's working. And also type in exactly where you're watching us from right around the world. Even if you're watching one of the replays, would be absolutely fantastic. So sometimes I do events where we're talking specifics. Today, I'm going to be talking about generic stuff in the industry by interviewing somebody who's been enormously successful. In fact, Karen Justice, who we're going to interview today, I've known her for a couple of years. It's been a blessing in my life getting to know her. And I can tell you from everything that I've seen with Karen, not only is she one of the most successful people in the industry, having achieved the very top of the compensation plan in her company, she's been integral in helping network marketing companies in the past structure their training programs, even compensation plans. I can tell you this, that she has such a heart to transform lives. That she has a heart that's bigger than Texas, right? So not only that, does she have a huge heart, she has a lot of wisdom. And so I think today, I can't think of anybody who I'd like to interview more than Karen Justice. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's great to be here.
Now, I love the fact that it's not just about looking at people's backgrounds of what they do, what their company is, what have you. This is more about, generic success. You are not just successful in this industry. You also have a very creative side as well. Tell us about that.
All right. Well, I like to make life more fun. So I'm a cartoonist. I love to underline humor in life's drama. I've written a fun book on network marketing, but also network marketing has allowed me to fund my other dream. And I also really love animals. Ever since I was a child, I've really cared about the plight of animals on this planet. And so I've written 11 children's books on Florida's Everglades. And I call the series the Alligator Alley series. And they're about different characters that live there. Each has their own big story, and their stories kind of interact. And I believe that every animal story deserves a happy ending. So there's a lot of people out there that are trying to leave a better planet for our children, but I also want to leave better kids for the planet.
Fantastic. I love the fact that it's not about money. It's about making a difference. And that really resonates in the same sort of leadership vibe that I believe. So in one of my previous updates, let's talk about the industry now. I talked about how having an emotional driver or a big reason why or a burning desire is what gets people really moving in this industry. Now, I know from your story when I first met you that you actually said that you had network marketing PTSD. Tell us about that.
Yes, I definitely did. When my sponsor actually called me about the present company that I'm in, I was secretly thinking to myself, I'd rather stick pins in my eyes because I was so burnt out on the industry. I'd met too many dishonest owners. I'd met unethical distributors, the MLM junkies. And I was I literally had network marketing PTSD. I was going to be moving in a different direction, even though I've had tremendous success in the industry. As you said, I care deeply about people. And, when you've been a trainer and you look out in the audience and you see someone dare to hope that the dream could be true for them, you've got to be telling the truth. And so, with the current company that I'm with, I did a lot of due diligence, and once I realized that these were great people, everything came back. It's easy to reactivate that dream, and you just couldn't stop me. And I think that There's so many people out there right now that are fearful. And there's a lot of people that have network marketing PTSD. When I call out into the field to talk to people, they feel the same. They've been hurt by, some of the bad companies out there, but it's easy to reactivate the dream. If you're coming from a sincere place. There's something that I call fear pressure out there right now, and people are so stressed out. Everybody seems to need at least $500 to $1,000 more a month to just be where they were at about a year ago. And fear tends to make people affect. And I believe we create our reality. And if you're always talking about your fears, you create even more. Pretty soon a person's frantic with fear. And if you're rowing harder, it doesn't help if the boat is pointed in the wrong direction. So it's important to, when you're looking at a company, to do ethical due diligence before you lead someone somewhere. There are honest companies out there. And as I said, it's easy to rekindle someone's dream once you found one.
Isn't it so true? Like, I came from the mortgage industry before network marketing, and there were bad mortgage brokers, bad mortgage companies. There were good ones. There was people with ethics, people without. And it's funny, I was talking to someone recently who was talking about their experience, and they were also a lady who was newly single. And I said, let me talk to me about your last relationship. And she said, all men are bastards. And I said, so are you telling me there's no more good men on the planet? She goes, no. And I said, exactly. It's the same thing with network marketing companies. If you have a founder or a corporate team that have integrity and a focus for the field, it doesn't mean your bad experiences of the past are going to replicate themselves. Now, let's talk about systems. How important do you think it is, because you've created systems in the past for companies and training and so forth, how important do you think it is to have a simplified, unified process within a company rather than everybody just shooting from the hip and selling due to having a great product or great personality?
Sure. Well, also, once I answered this, Michael, there were some questions that I think that it's important for people to ask when they're choosing a company. I'd like to go back to that. But as far as systems, most people aren't sales types. In fact, over 90% of the public aren't. And so systems are really important to create any duplication. So you need systems for presentations so that people have the nerve to be able to reach out to people. And you need systems for follow-up. I wrote an article a few years ago for Upline Magazine, and it said, forget about heavy hitters, go for the real leaders, because I was so tired of people talking about heavy hitters and that. And I remember the first line of the article said, if they linger in the crosswalk, mow them down. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of big networkers look at people that come into their organization. They think, well, if they don't, come off the block running, they're not important to them. And what I've seen is the opposite can be true. People with sales skills, a lot of times, they can come in signing a lot of people, but a lot of times they don't have the skills to create duplication because people look at them and they think, I could never do that. And sometimes they don't have the empathy to do it. The type of building that I like to build, which systems are integral, is getting everyone to sign at least a few people. One time I did some surveys into one of my groups, and I found that all of the biggest builders I had in my organization were signed by people that had just signed a few. So everybody's important. The grandma's important, she might, her nephew might be somebody who builds an incredible business, or her neighbor. When you get everybody signing a few, instead of like the salesperson whose group shoots up and then kind of comes down like a cinder, when you get everybody signing a few, you build a real interconnected network. And instead of building your house of straw, you build it of bricks more. But at some point, when everybody's doing that, you've got a group that is so solid. If a raider comes along, your group can't be hurt. And it also, at some point, it starts taking off in all directions, and you get real lift off, you get the momentum. So that's how I love to build, and systems are an absolute integral part of that.
Isn't it funny? I know I love these interviews because my brain will be catching up going, oh, this reminds me of something else. When we're talking about the salespeople, sometimes the loudest voice in the room isn't the one you need to be listening to. And with that example, I see some people beating their chest going, I introduced 1,000 people to my company. I'm like, that's great. That's sales. What about network marketing? Can you do that? Because the 1,000 people might end up just dwindling away over time. So selling and being, holding that trophy going, I introduced the most people. I used to be that guy. And I've got a good mentor who said you'd be ashamed of that if that's only what you do. If you can do that and the rest of network marketing, which is everyone doing a small amount through a system and a process, then you are truly a leader in network marketing. So I agree. Now, you did say you wanted to go back some questions. Before I jump onto the next one, you were talking about picking a company.
Yeah. These are some of the questions that I'd ask. And I think it's important to ask them. And usually, if you're being signed up by someone who might not know all the answers, they can generally put you in touch with an upline that does. But it's important to get the answers to these questions before you lead anybody anywhere. One of the questions that you have to find out is how well funded the company is. Over 95% of new companies fail. And a lot of times it's because of lack of funding. They don't have the money to make some of the big jumps that happen with unpredictable sales. All of a sudden, the company goes through a big growth curve, and they don't have the money, and the whole thing comes crashing down. You want to know that there's key levels of expertise in the management, because a company can have exponential growth over quite quickly. They can 10 or even 100 times in just a couple of months. And so you need to know that they know what they're doing, that they have some experience with network marketing and that kind of growth, and that they actually, a lot of times people will say, oh, well, this person was a network marketer, now they've started a company. It can be good and bad. A lot of times those people might not have the skills in finance. So you want to really understand who's running the company. You want to make sure the product is unique, and you want to make sure people will love what they sell, how desirable the product is, because that's very important for reorder. And auto ship are the backbone of your business. So you want to take a look at that. You want to look at any success stories that they have, such as before and afters and that. But another thing that you have to take a look at is, do they have proof? They may be making some wonderful claims, but do they have a white paper or some sort of a study or something that shows anything? So another thing that is really important to me is I look at what kind of claims they're making. I want to make sure that they have a good compliance department, because if they don't, they're going to get shut down. So I want to make sure that I don't see wild claims on their website, and that the company isn't full of hype. Because if you're going to build something to get residual income, you need them to be around for a long time. You want to make sure that the cost works in the marketplace, that it's not disproportionately high to similar products that might be out in the marketplace. Ideally, you want something that's a breakthrough, something that's new to the marketplace. You want to make sure you have team support. But another thing that's important, in my opinion, is you want to make sure that your upline isn't a junkie. So I always look a couple of levels up to see how many companies a person has skipped around to. You want to make sure that there's good marketing materials. Otherwise, you'll have to create them all yourself. It's always so much easier to go into a company that really understands marketing and has great materials. You want to make sure that there's training materials. Otherwise, again, you'll have to create them yourself, which can be done, but it saves an awful lot of time if the company has a duplicatable system. You want to take a look at the compensation plan. You want to make sure it's honest, but also that it's easy to understand. Some of these plans have so many twirls and, gotchas and things like that, that it's really, you want to make sure that that compensation plan is really clean. You also want to look at the company culture, because culture is important. People will stay for a company culture. You want to make sure there's online meetings. And again, I don't like hype, so I look for no hype. You want to make sure it looks professional. You want to make sure that there's tools that help you build connections, and because you want to build those connections to the product, to each other, that type of thing. And I also like to look on where they are on the S curve, and that's the growth curve that any company goes through. Starts in formulation, which is very, very shaky, and a lot of things go wrong. And that's where, as I said, most companies, over 90%, fail. And then it goes from there into concentration, where you see your leadership develop and it becomes a bit stronger. That's where most big networkers like to find a company, because they know the next step is momentum. And that's like having a tiger by the tail. And from momentum, it works into stability. So it's always better to find a company that's in concentration. And you can even pick one in formulation, but just realize that a lot of companies fail. So you have to have made sure you've done some really good due diligence before you start. I know that was a lot, Michael, but those are things that I asked. I mean, this last company, I asked every question I could think of.
I know you did. You did. It's interesting because there's so much in what Karen just said there. So if you didn't write notes, guys, go play the playback down and just do a bullet point of all those points. One point was really interesting. This is the first time for me, and again, we're not here to promote the company I'm with, but in looking in the back end, pulling the veil back, the first time I've actually seen what actually goes on there. Sometimes as a network marketer, if I was a network marketer that started a company, run for the hills because I don't have the details to pull off what's on the back end that is required to keep a boat afloat and keep it moving. And I know that the CEO that I have dear to my heart, he doesn't splash cash and give everyone all the staff Mercedes and get a flashy offers. Instead, he puts all the money into the field first, which is important. So it's been interesting to observe exactly what you're saying. Now, one of the questions we asked before is about systems and processes, having one unified process rather than running in a million directions. Then again, how important do you feel it is to at some point become a presenter yourself if you are a leader? Another good question.
Well, it's good to, I have been signed by people that didn't have anywhere near the skill at network marketing that I did, but I still introduced people to them because their enthusiasm and their belief in the company was all that was needed to, add to my own belief. So it's important to share your belief in the company, to share your belief in the products. But one of the great things about network marketing is if you can't do that, if you're really shy, the great thing about network marketing is leverage. Network marketing is a great equalizer. You leverage your skills with those of other people on your team. And I like to call it a network of support. And so you'll generally find somebody on your team that can do presentations, and, you can take it a step at a time and do some small ones for easy people and then get more confidence. I used to stutter, and Michael knows this about me. And so if you ever used to stutter, it's very hard for you to be the center of attention. So I had such a hard time being on stage or doing any kind of hosting any kind of a Zoom call or anything like that. Over the phone where nobody was looking at me, I was fine. But over the years, I always pushed myself to try to get out of my comfort zone. And so I became better and better at it. And now, I still feel nerves when I go on stage and that, but it's so much better and so much different. And one of the things that I've been able to do is I believe in servant leadership and being your authentic self. Being authentic is very duplicatable because if you're really smooth and snazzy, it can be intimidating for somebody that's just starting to build a business. But if you're authentic and you care, and what I do before I do a three-way call or any kind of a presentation, I just quietly say, let me be of service, and I enter the call trying to be of service, and it takes the attention off me, off any shyness that I might have, and it puts my intention on helping other people.
Love that feedback, because sometimes people see people, and I'm not making this about me, but sometimes people will see someone who is confident presenting, but they don't remember where they've come from. My partner Liz knows this story. I remember the first time I was thrown some texters and a whiteboard and said, the presenter's not turning up, it's you. I had sweat marks running down here. My fourth brow was dripping. So I was not a good presenter then. But how do you get good at anything? Doing it and doing it again and doing it again and doing it again. But eventually, if you learn how to present in your own way, in your own vibe, not trying to be some snazzy presenter like anybody else, then you own your business because you are empowered to do so. Now, you mentioned third-party three-way calls in there. So let's jump onto that. How important do you think third-party validation is versus doing everything on your own?
It's very, very important. And as I said, the person you're introducing them to, might not know much more than you, but their enthusiasm coupled with your own is somebody else besides just you saying, that they're excited about what you're presenting. And it shows your prospect how networking works, that you are leveraging your time, that they're not in business alone, because most people, as I said before, aren't sales types. So it's important to show them how you work as a team. And if you keep it simple, rather than, you've heard me make this joke before, but a lot of people new to network marketing talk enough to get their tongues suntan. And so if you want to be successful, though, you have to learn to listen. And so really engaged listening is really important. But it's also important that less is more. Using the tools, like any recorded videos your company might have, something like that, or inviting them to a conference call, and you saying very little. I mean, you can say as little as, I'm so excited about this product. I've had a great result, and I was looking for, an additional income stream. So I thought, hey, I'm going to be helping other people. So I'm very excited about the business. But hey, I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you all this stuff. But my friend Carl can. Let's get on a three-way call with Carl. And if he doesn't have the answers, he can point us to a couple of videos that might. So what it does is it lets the person see, one, that you're not trying to it's not a weird conversation. It's not all of a sudden their friend talking like a scientist. It's their friend talking like their friend, being authentic, being real, but pointing them towards a way to get the answers that is really duplicatable. So third-party validation helps in so many ways, especially if the person you're sending them to also understands that they should validate your efforts and you as a business builder and that type of thing. So very, very important.
Love it. Love it. Lots of wisdom in that response as well. Now, let's assume we have some brand new people watching this right now, just looking at the industry for the first time. And, I've said already, guys, but I'll say it again. Karen is in the top 5% of income earners in this industry. So pay attention. Success leaves clues. You don't fall on the top of a mountain, right? So what would you say for brand new people? What would we say the top 3 most important tips?
Well, again, almost what I'd said just before, and that's less is more. Please remember that. Authentic conversations. Don't try to be a scientist. Use the tools. That's number 1. Less is more. A lot of times when people start out, they're so nervous, so they're just babbling. Try to keep it really simple and talk about your own success with the product that automatically focuses on benefits, and then get to a tool or a 3-way call as quickly as possible. So less is more. 2 would be learn to listen, like that really engaged listening. If you listen carefully, it opens people's hearts. It just does. When you listen carefully, when it's your turn to talk, they in turn will listen to what you have to say. So listening is really important. It also allows you to make a better presentation, because instead of you just, babbling, it allows you to hear what they might be interested in, and you can gear your presentation to that. So learning to listen is number 2. It's really, really key. And number 3 is don't be a demotivational speaker. Don't be a demotivational speaker. Nobody likes that. There's people that they grab defeat from the jaws of victory. If you're going to learn to lead, you have to realize that people are attracted to up and happy. Vision becomes reality, in my opinion. Ups and downs happen to everyone. They happen in every business, no matter what company you join. They happen in every business. And so tenacity is the key to long-term success, learning to pick yourself up, and you are enough. So that would be the third. Don't be a demotivational speaker, and don't be that even to yourself. Believe in yourself. Belief is the key that takes people to the top of compensation plans. If people knew that they could earn what I earn, they'd work really hard. But a lot of times they don't. And the reason is belief. They don't believe they can. So your job as a leader is to underline belief as they have their small successes, and that will give them the courage to finally have that belief in themselves that makes them work hard enough to take them to the top of compensation plans. But do to yourself as well. Listen to your inner talk and make sure that you're fostering belief.
Love it. You sparked something, and someone typed a comment. Ruth typed in, listen, great words of wisdom. It's funny. I'm just digressing for 30 seconds or 10 seconds. I posted something on social media yesterday. I spent over Easter, I got about a dozen pictures from strangers on Facebook about network marketing. Not one of them asked me about me. And if they had, they would have discovered I was one of the founding advisory board members of the company. I'm not going anywhere. But they didn't bother. They've just gone, hey, how are you? Look at my link. Right? But if you ask some questions and you genuinely are interested in another human being, you might hold back on, what? I shouldn't have sent that link. I should have asked the question first. Get to know somebody first. It's a lot like going on a date and going, do you want to marry me? Well, hang on a second. Let's have dinner. So it makes me laugh about, say, how poorly trained some people are on that side of things. That's a whole other talk for another day, guys. Let's now talk about this. I know that you're about to do this, and I know a number of people in the industry are about to do this. What's your perspective on doing a 90-day sprint or a 90-day run?
Well, I always do it myself. The company that I'm with right now, I reached the top of the compensation plan in 5.5 months, but it was because I did a 90-day run. I taught it years ago when I first came into the industry. I applied business principles, and so I was using targets and goals. But I knew that the first 90 days of any business is so important to be working as hard as you can. So that's what I did. And then I taught that for years. And then recently I saw a top trainer in the industry that writes books as well. He had done surveys of some of the very top earners in the industry, all the top ones that he knew. And he saw that the common denominator was that they had all done a 90-day run. And the people that they recruited during that time, that they brought on board to their business, were able to take them all the way to the top of the compensation plan. So it's that important. Success loves speed. It creates excitement, and people jump on board. People are very attracted to excitement. So I believe that the 90-day run is really vital. One of the interesting things too is that he saw that the average number of people that these top leaders had enrolled as builders during that period of the 90 days, which is 3 months, was about 20 people. So that's not undoable. You know what I mean? Even for someone new to the business. So it's very important. It gives you a great start, and it gets everybody excited. And it lets you earn money really quickly, which is very exciting for people as well. That they see that they start to see that success. It fosters their belief.
Totally. You get one chance at writing a good story, and that 90-day run can create a story of success that just like a vacuum attracts other people. That's so true. Now, from this interview, guys, you probably already got this flavor, but Karen, you wrote a book called Barracuda in Bunny Slippers, right? Now, when I think of that, and I know you and people who've now got a bit of a vibe from you, my take on that is, that doesn't mean you can hustle, you can go for it, you can be successful, but you can also have a heart and be fluffy and warm and cuddly, and it doesn't have to just be, money or anything like that. So firstly, can you talk to that, and can I show them your site?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I know a lot of people may look at me and, there's kind of a blonde fluffy, but I'm very driven, and, I work hard, and I'm good at what I do because I care about people, and so I believe in that servant leadership, lifting others up. So, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I'm just showing people the site right now, and just like myself, wanting to pay back to the industry, if you go to Karen's site here, you'll see it's not her promoting a company. She's actually promoting some free stuff that you guys can access, which will help you along your journey. So I love that. Because that again is saying the industry's paid so well to Karen, and Karen is giving back with free stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of greeting cards that I've made, actually hundreds. Birthday, anniversary, just for fun, anything you can think of, but motivational and acknowledgement when somebody's reached a level. And I've given them, I'm giving them free. There's also 8 hours of generic training in there on how to have natural conversations. I've helped a lot of people reach the top of compensation plans because I demystify a lot. I don't mean to be negative about some trainers, but some trainers put things out there in a way that you have to pay to get the next level of mystery sandwich type of thing. You know what I mean? To learn something. And actually the route to the top of a compensation plan is very, very simple. So I try with all my heart to demystify it so that people can take those steps and make it to the top, because it can change people's lives. And I've helped quite a lot of people do that.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you know that statement, I love to finish on this: a rising tide floats all boats. So by Karen giving selflessly into the industry some tools that might help someone, whether you're not you're with her team or anybody's team, anybody's company, is totally irrelevant, guys. This is about everybody wins if we can professionalize the industry. And I've got exactly the same philosophy. So Karen, thank you for sharing. I'm sure people are going to get a lot out of today's interview.
Thank you. I love being on, Michael.